Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. And today I want to talk about the way we define ourselves and how that can actually build up walls around the people we are and prevent us from reaching a more enlightened state of existence. And so I'm pulling some of this from The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. Read some things in here that really stood out to me today regarding some things I'm going through in my own life right now. But starting out, we learn from an early age to define ourselves as me and then the rest of the world. And by defining ourselves that way, we start to build walls around ourselves. We start to build walls that represent who we are and who we are not. And unfortunately, sometimes by defining ourselves with these walls, we actually confine ourselves to a specific definition of being. And that can prevent us from a more enlightened state of existence. So I'm going to read a little bit from the book, what he says about this. He says, if you want to see how restrictive your walls are, just start walking toward them. Let's say you have an emotional fear of heights. When you were young, you fell off a ladder and the impression stayed with you. That's one of your walls. If you doubt that it's a wall, let's see you walk through it. Let's say something happens that activates these old feelings of fear and you decide to walk right toward it. The closer you get, the more you will have the urge to pull back. That which you collected from your past forms a boundary you intuitively want to avoid. That's natural. That's what we do with walls. We avoid running into them. But because you avoid running into them, they lock you inside your perimeter, inside their perimeter. They become your prison because they are the boundaries of your awareness. Because you are not willing to approach them, you cannot see what is beyond them. So I definitely see this in myself. I have created a very strict definition of who I am and what I like and what I don't like. And while that's useful in some senses, and that's useful in some interactions with the world, as time goes on and I've continued to live that definition and continue to reinforce these walls that I've created, it's become restrictive. And I find myself growing less flexible and less able to be fluid, as one of my mentors put it, to be fluid in life and to go easily between one situation and another, especially when those situations challenge my definition of who I am. So Singer goes on to say, it's not really difficult to get past the walls. Time and again, every day, the natural flow of life collides with our walls and tries to tear them down. But time and again, we defend them. Now, for alcoholics and addicts, that should sound pretty familiar. Time and again, every day, the natural flow of life collides with our walls and tries to tear them down. But time and again, we defend them. So I was shown many, 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 many times over the course of my active addiction that the definition that I had created of myself, that of someone who enjoyed getting drunk and enjoyed getting high, I was shown that that definition was problematic, that I needed to look at tearing that wall down. But I didn't do it. I defended it. I convinced myself that I was special, that I could do these things and still function in life. And so we see this all the time, not just with people in addiction, but people in recovery and people who don't have either of those issues in their lives. People who are just navigating life are shown time and time again that they need to consider tearing down walls. And they refuse to do it. They defend those walls. And in fact, when they feel attacked the most, they support those walls even more. And so he goes on to say, you must realize that when you defend yourself, you are really defending your walls. There's nothing else to defend in there. There's just your awareness of being and the house you built to live in. What you are defending is the house you built to protect yourself. You are hiding inside. If something happens to challenge the walls of your psyche, you get highly defensive. You have built a self-concept, moved inside, and now you defend that home with all you have. But what creates that inner home other than the walls of your thoughts? Now, this really spoke to me because I feel like a lot of my frustration and a lot of my resistance in life stems from beliefs that I have about what I'm supposed to be doing and what I'm supposed to accomplish in life. And uh, I have to remember that, those are beliefs that I've held on to, that I've reinforced, that I'm defending. And maybe if I can tear those down a little bit and get past them, I can open myself to some experiences in life that I never would have imagined I could have before. And in fact, that's exactly what happened when I entered recovery. I had created this definition for myself that I would never be someone who needed AA or who needed rehab or who needed any kind of support to moderate my drinking. I had also created a definition that I would never be the kind of person who needed to stop drinking altogether. I just needed to slow it down a little bit. And whenever that definition of me got attacked, I defended against it. And I said, no, I'm okay. I can keep this going. I can keep going and I will get better. I promise I'll get better. This will get better. And I defended and defended and defended until it became clear that unless I tore those walls down, unless I completely demolished that definition that I had created of myself, I was likely to cease being. I was likely to die. And I was likely to lose all of the other things in life that make me who I am. And it's at that moment that I decided, you know what? It's time to tear down these walls and consider that maybe I need to be something different than what I am. Maybe I need to be not building a house around me, but opening it up so I can see what world exists there for me to explore. And so he goes on to say, when you say, I'm a woman and I'm 45 years old, I'm married to Joe and I graduated from this high school, those are thoughts. The actual situations don't exist in there with you except in the forms of thoughts that you cling to. But I was a cheerleader and I was a president of my senior class. That was 30 years ago. Those situations don't exist anymore, but they exist inside of you and they form the walls in which you live. So I think this is an important idea for everybody to consider, but really important for alcoholics and addicts to remember, because we got to remember that we, for a long time in our lives, defined ourselves in a very particular way. And we had to completely redefine ourselves. We had to tear down our walls in order to enter into recovery. That's what was necessary. Completely demolishing the house and the prison that we had built around ourselves. And sometimes we have to do the same thing in recovery. Sometimes in recovery, we also find ourselves imprisoned by thoughts about who we are and definitions we've created of ourselves. And we need to, again, tear down the house we've built and explore outside of that. And that's something that I've been experiencing recently. I've created a definition about something specific in my life and said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to, doing this thing doesn't fit in with who I am. And I need to be willing to explore that a little bit more and really get to the root of, well, why does it not fit in with who I am? And is it possible that I need to tear down some walls in my own life in order to explore this other area a little bit more? So we've all got to find that willingness. Tear down the walls, get out of the prisons that we create for ourselves, and really see what life is like on the outside of that. When we try to be so prescriptive about who we are and what our lives are going to be like, that's when we start missing out on some of the beauty that life has to offer. So that's all I've got for today. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow with more.